Right, let's get more on the meetings Africa 2025. We're joined by Southern Africa Tourism Service Association Chairperson Oupa Pilane. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, it sounds like a meeting of minds and opportunities. I mean, what was the mission? What it set out to achieve as you take a look at the impact and significance of this meeting?
Good evening, Paul, and good evening to your viewers. I think this is one of the most important platforms for collaboration. I think we are at the time when Africa is now doing business. So we're not even ready to do business. So there's a lot of collaboration that needs to happen in Africa. And if you understand us well now, we're saying we are tired of Africa that always is dependent on aid. Now we need to put Africa to trade amongst itself. We are a huge continent with so much potential. I mean, if you look at our recovery numbers in South Africa, especially out of the almost 9 million international visitors that came to our shores in South Africa, almost 76% of those numbers come from African states. So, which therefore says to us as South Africans, it is important that whilst we do want the Europeans and the Americans to come to our shores in South Africa, but we must then begin this process of trading amongst ourselves as Africa.
What was also interesting, having listened to Minister Patricia de Lille, is that, noting that South Africa indeed ranks as the #1 business events destination across the continent in Africa and the Middle East, but the country still holds a small share of the global business events market. What kind of opportunity does that create for South Africa?
Look, I think it's unfortunate that we find ourselves in this position where we are, but I think it is a huge potential, because not only are we able to host these major events, I mean, starting from 2010, from the Sustainable Conference, and now we are preparing for the G20. So we have that capability to host these mega events in this country. I mean, in 2027, we will be hosting the Cricket World Cup in this country, and therefore we need to be able to make sure that our infrastructure is proper. And most importantly, and the exciting part about our opportunity is us fixing the visa regime, because it's quite important for us to be able to facilitate people to come with ease and speed in South Africa. So if we are now introducing these visa regime changes that are now more progressive, we will start to see these numbers growing. Remember, Mpo, that we have a target of bringing 15 million international visitors to South Africa by 2030. And part of that includes us dealing with these barriers that will make it difficult, if we don't deal with them, to bring these numbers. But the visa regime that we are now introducing, which was launched today, it's a positive step towards us reaching that target. But also, we also need to deal with the issues of the capacity of our flights to be able to bring people into South Africa. So that is also key, because access is key, and people need to be able to fly directly to South Africa. So we are quite positive that there are programs in place that we are working very hard on, and we are beginning to see these results coming forward.
What does this then do in terms of the goals of positioning South Africa as a global hub for both business events and leisure, with that focus on the visa?
Look, I think, the positive out of this, and in terms of practical terms, is that when we made the visa requirements for the Russians to come to this country, we saw an increase of 13,000 per annum to over 40,000. And not long, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, since the introduction of the TOS, we have received already through this scheme 30 Chinese that were received by the minister. So what that means, it means that by making sure that we remove these barriers, we will then make it easy for people, because what is interesting about South Africa is that you're not only coming here for a meeting. You know, there is so much diverse offerings that we have, ranging from our beautiful beaches to our scenery and our safari, but most importantly, the cultures of our people. And these are the things that we need to showcase to the world. So it is important that we deal with the challenges that are causing us to have difficulty in bringing these tourists into the country and making South Africa the #1 destination for leisure and business, as you say.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us about this. Of course, leaving that conversation there, South African Tourism Services Association Chairperson Oupa Pilane.